dealing with grief is something my next guest can give us all a lesson in. A fashion and PR superstar in Seattle, Sydney Mintle, was just named one of 425 magazine's Women to Watch for 2024. Sydney joins me now to show us why she's definitely one to keep your eye on.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
And Sydney, how did you get into this fashion world? Where did this passion come from?
Well, I started working in retail when I was 16. I actually filled out my job application when I was 15 and a half because I was so excited to get started. And then I worked my way up to store management by the time I was 19, and then transitioned to the fashion office in my early 20s. And I've been doing this ever since.
It's so amazing. I love your passion for fashion. And over this weekend at the 425 Magazine Women to Watch event, you had us all in tears in a good way during your speech. It was so impactful and emotional. Talk to me, if you don't mind, about the recent loss that your family and you had.
So November 28th will mark 1 year since my husband Jeff passed away from brain cancer. And that has been a crazy experience to navigate. But I think it's also provided some beautiful moments to really savor the good times, and it's provided a framework for us to really think about how we're navigating our time here and how we're spending it. And I think we don't talk enough about death and dying in this culture, and I think we do ourselves a huge disservice by not acknowledging that death is part of life and it can be beautiful if you let it.
And that was a quote that you said during the speech that really touched me. Hopefully I don't cry again. That it can be really beautiful. So if you don't mind kind of walking, the viewers through what you want Jeff's legacy to be as you continue on.
He was such a gentle and humble person, and he lived every day so that at the end of his life he would have nothing to clean up. And he inspired so many people with his quiet leadership and endless generosity. And I think there's so many beautiful takeaways because he modeled how to live a beautiful life for us.
Absolutely, and you're modeling that as well for your children, I know that. And so what did it mean to you for this incredible honor that Women to Watch called you and said, we want to have you as one of the speakers this year?
I mean, it's such a huge honor. One, to be amongst so many amazing women that were also featured this year, to get to know them and get to know their stories, and also just to have a platform to be able to share my story and hopefully give people a framework for how to navigate grief.
And what do you want other people that are maybe watching or listen to your speech to know about grief and your experience, if there's anything that you can tell anyone watching?
That it is an invitation to dive deeper and really celebrate the time that we have here and to savor the good times and to really be intentional about how you spend your time.
Definitely. And with your, young children and going through this process, what are you hoping that they're learning and seeing from you every single day?
That you have to move forward one day at a time, and that it's such a gift to be here, and that part of honoring Jeff's life and his legacy is by moving forward and living a really beautiful life.
Definitely. And you mentioned that you actually had a doula. Do you mind talking about that decision for that?
So we had an amazing end-of-life doula. Her name was Kristen Baker. She was such a gem. And she told us, this is going to be the hardest thing you ever have to do. And it was. But she said it could also be beautiful if you let it. And it was.
What do you think she meant by that? Or, what was your takeaway during that experience that you wanted it to be beautiful?
Just that this was going to be really hard, but it was inevitable given Jeff's condition, and that we could either resist that or we could lean into it. And so we leaned into it with a lot of love.
And I know you talked about that Jeff during chemo was doing things, that maybe the doctors didn't think that he would be able to do because you guys had so much hope. So what was he doing during that process that helped all of you guys be able to smile and probably have wonderful memories?
So during chemo and radiation, he was up at Snoqualmie Pass snowboarding with our son Liam.
I love that.
And he had a thriving art practice with our daughter. So he was doing so many things that I think a lot of people didn't think were possible. And he was like, nope, we're doing it. And so, including going to the pumpkin patch. I mean, he really wanted to make sure that we got to have those memories together, and he fought for every moment.
Oh my gosh. That is just so inspirational, and I know you guys just had the best and still have the best love and admiration for Jeff. And what do you want, people to know about your husband?
He was amazing. He really had a beautiful life here. He inspired me to create a life beyond my wildest dreams. We had a beautiful life together, and I'm so grateful for the experience to know a love like that and to have a love like that.
Definitely. And with Women to Watch, what do you want to tell people that are maybe debating going to an event like that in the future? How was your experience, and
Yes.
people in the audience?
Well, you should buy your tickets as soon as they go on sale because it was such a beautiful night. The 425 magazine team always does a phenomenal job. And I think to be able to hear all of these beautiful women's stories, and everything was so raw and real and relatable, and I walked away feeling really inspired.
And we all walked away feeling so inspired by you being so vulnerable and telling your story. I think it's going to help so many people. And like you said, carrying on Jeff's legacy, which is pretty incredible. Thank you for being here, Sydney.
Thank you for having me.